Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Christian Women in Business podcast. So happy to have you here. Now, I have just realized that I have been in business for 10 years, which is a pretty long time to be in the sphere of business. It's pretty exciting. And I thought I would do a little bit of a celebration of realizing that 10 years has come up, not necessarily 10 years as CWIB or the Automation Girl, but as a whole, 10 years has gone by. And I've learned some lessons along the way, which I think have been really helpful to learn. And so in today's podcast, I thought I'd go through 10 godly lessons I've learned in my 10 years of business that hopefully you can apply to your business as well. And you might have already have learned some of this stuff. It might be OSJ. I learned that years ago, but that's okay. These are just things that I found helpful that I've thought are really important to learn as a business owner, and they're all keeping God at the center of business. Can just be hard. It can, and it's got ebbs and flows, and there's different seasons, and you never know what's coming up next, and you think you're doing okay, and then something else happens, and yeah, it can just be an absolute whirlwind. So I hope in today's episode I can bring some wisdom to you. If you're just starting out in business, please write all these down. They are going to be on the show notes as well, because I'm going to save you a heap of time and heartache if you are just starting out. If you are just starting out, and if you have been in business for a while, then you'd be like, yeah, learned that. Yeah, going through that now, whatever it might be. So I hope that, yeah, they just bring some lightness to your day, and some of them are really practical and some of them are knowledgeable, if that makes sense. I'm just going to jump straight in. Number one is trust the quiet times. God puts them there for a reason. So, throughout the 10 years, business and life in general has never been just full on all the time. Sometimes it's felt incredibly full on beyond my own capabilities. But throughout the 10 years, there's been real quiet times. And like literally from November to this month, November last year to this month, business has been super quiet. And in my personal life, I'd been going through some things, and it made sense, even though it felt really hard at the time. That was a quiet time that was needed and that God had put in there for a reason. And as I look back and reflect, that's happened quite a few times where seasons have gone really quiet. I've been going, what the hell's going on? And then realizing that I either needed to rest, I needed to take a step back, I needed to learn something, or I just needed, like, other things were happening externally where I needed that quiet time in my business to be able to deal with the external stuff. So if you're going through a quiet time, and you might see this too as you reflect back over however many years you've been in business as well, that quiet times are put in there for a reason. And if they are to rest, take the hint and rest hard, because usually after that rest period comes a growth period. So it's really important to embrace the rest when it's there and when you're able to, and not feel guilty about resting. We need to rest. We need to recover, especially as women. We're not built the same way as men. Our bodies don't handle stress the same way as men. I was talking to a friend the other day about how I have officially let go of my superwoman era. I am no longer operating as a superwoman. I am no longer striving to be as busy as possible or to, hang on a sec, let me just put this on silent. Should have done that before. Yeah, I'm just no longer in my superwoman era. Like, that phase of my life is gone. I no longer want to be driving to the other side of the country and doing renovations and trying to manage everything else. I'm not there anymore. And trying to run a conference and trying to build, like, for me, that was too much. And it came out in my body through burnout. Like, it wasn't cool in the end. And I just don't strive for that anymore internally. I don't want that stress in my life. I don't know if it's an age thing. Now, I know I'm only a young 37, and a lot of our listeners range from 30 all the way up to 65. So I understand to our more mature audience that I'm still young, but I am already at a point where I don't want that kind of stress in my life. I am not going to put myself through that stress anymore. And I have learned a lesson through Superwoman era that I am not Superwoman. I am SJ. I am how God made me, and you are how God made you. And we are females and we have different hormones to men. Our bodies operate differently to men. How we deal with stress in our bodies is different. We're just not built for huge amount of stress. We can handle different capacities for sure. But I think capacities come in lots of different forms, and how we handle the growth of the capacity as we go through wisdom. I feel like I'm like in my business 2.0. Like we first spent the first 10 years learning, and that was like the 0, 1, the first version of business. And now we're moving into 2.0. So this is like the next era of business and how we're going to do things differently. So I'm thinking already, like with the automation girl and coming in, how am I going to structure that differently so I'm not doing all the work all the time? And the world is moving so fast that there's too much pressure to put on myself to keep on top of it all the time. So how can I utilize a team to help deliver amazing automations and services for our clients where I'm not going to burn myself out in the process trying to keep on top of everything all the time? I can build a team that we can learn together and they can hold that knowledge as well and then progress into setting that up for clients. So that's already in motion, like that's already starting. And it amazes me how God puts people in your life at the right time when you're ready to grow in different capacities. So don't just see as growing your capacity of needing to be busier. That's not what I see growing your capacity is. Growing your capacity is being able to handle growth well without getting more busy. So what structures, and I'm going to get onto this in a bit later, systems can you put in place so you can handle that? What team members do you need to bring on so you can handle that growth in capacity? If I want to grow CWIB to, I don't know, just for example, have more in-person events across the world, I can't split myself into 10. I need to rely on people to do that. So how do we do that, and how do we do that well, and how do we keep the culture of CWIB going throughout the different coffee and catch-ups or whatever it is without me needing to be there at every single one? And that comes down to what foundations I put into place now, and that is my responsibility as a business owner. And that is what I think is growing in capacity. It's being able to take a step back from your business, which is why we do the quarterly resets and why we do them every quarter. Not sooner, not further apart. I think quarters a really nice way to just step back and go, okay, what's happening in my business? Where am I at? What do I need to bring in to my team? Do we need to let go of some team members? And being in a real prayerful, God-centered place to have that conversation with yourself and with God is priceless. And now we're like we've got another one coming up on the 22nd of May, which is really soon. And we're adding the peer-to-peer mentoring side to it. So we can chat with others. That you've got me who's had 10 years in business. You've got Megs who's got 20 years in business. Collectively, we've got over a century worth of business knowledge that we can share between each other. That stuff's priceless. And I'm beginning to learn how priceless it is to just have amazing mentors and people around you that can really help exponentiate the capacity of your own mind and get you to think differently and get you to open yourself up to a world that you didn't think was possible, how you didn't originally see you and your business or whatever it might be. So trust the quiet times. How are you going to grow in your capacity after the rest so you're not going to put yourself through burnout and that you're not doing absolutely every single thing in your business? I do think it's a big wave of women realizing that we're not superwoman and we don't need to be superwoman anymore. That's not okay. That's not a good standard to live at. That's not good for our health. So how can we do business from a place of rest even better? Like even better in rest in God is what I'm referring to there. And how can we just really grow in that capacity. And I think what I'm going to share over the next 9 points are probably going to help expand in that as well. So the number two, I can get that out. Number two is trust your intuition about a client. So if something feels off, it normally is. Trust it. God's put intuition in us for a reason, aka the Holy Spirit, and just our own gut feeling about something. Now, there's gut feelings and there's feelings. There's feelings of I'm upset today, I'm due on my period or perimenopause, menopause, whatever it is, like hormones are all over the place. Emotionally, life feels like everything's going wrong. That's emotions. That's hormones. That's different to intuition in our gut. That feeling that we get here when something just isn't right. If you meet a client and you get that feeling straight away deep in your gut, feel it, acknowledge it, and don't ignore it. It's usually there for a reason. So in growing your capacity, make sure you listen to yourself and picking the right clients that you want to work with. And if something feels off, it normally is. Number three is consistency. And I believe consistency is key. And this goes not just in business, this is throughout our whole lives, be it if we're working on our health, whatever it might be, being consistent pays off. A couple of examples of that in business are being consistent with your marketing, being consistent with your systems, having consistency in your cash flow, and just showing up, like consistently showing up in like, how do I show up in those rest periods? How do I show up in those growth periods? An example that's easy to share is like the CWIB podcasts. Now, when we have been doing them, it's been consistent. And I've worked out in my mind, what is it that I can be consistent with on a regular basis that I can do for a long term? Now, I know I took a couple of years off last year, big personal things happening, flying all over the world, different things just going on in life. For me, that was a call that a few things had to give, and that was one of them. I just needed to take that space away. And we did a few bits and bobs of podcasting, but overall, I had time off. Now, in the time that I was consistent prior to that and then now, it's grown. We've had beautiful growth in our podcast. Thank you, amazing listeners. You are awesome. Thank you for your support over the years. But I've been able to keep that consistency because I know I can commit to one podcast a week. In my capacity right now, with the time I've got available, my headspace, everything else, I know I can commit to one a week and I can do it nicely. And by nicely, I mean it's nice on my soul of, yep, just got one podcast to record this week. Or if I'm batching, okay, I know that if I do 5 podcasts in one day, that's going to be 5 weeks worth of content to go out that I don't have to worry about. I've done it all different ways. I've done weekly recordings. I've done bulk. Just having weekly, no matter how these things are recorded, works for me. So in your business, be thinking about what is it that you can keep consistent. What can you keep consistency in throughout your business? What services can you offer really good and give value to your client on a consistent basis? That's going to lead to consistent cash flow. You showing up each day in your capacity of how you can show up will then reflect all those things too. So if you're a busy mom of, I don't know, a few kids, whatever it is, even if you're still working in a job and you're getting your business off the ground, what can you commit to consistently in your business over the next 3 months that you know is not going to cause you burnout and is going to be able to allow you to do a good job of what it is that you want to do? We can go all in and work so hard and burn ourselves out so quickly trying to manage a job. I know, I've been there. Like, there was a point in life where I was working 4 days a week. I was doing CWIB, I was doing the Automation Girl. We were traveling interstate to do renovations. That was not something I could do long term. No way. I was also commuting long hours each day as well. It just felt like I was constantly at a computer and I was grinding hard. Now, that did teach me a lot. I do have lots of grey hairs to reflect that, but it wasn't something that I could do consistent. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, okay, I need to start this business. That means I need to get out of this job as soon as possible. You've got the capital to back you. That's awesome. If you don't, go at a pace that you can handle without moving over too fast, that you're not going to burn yourself out in the process. So everything is consistency, just like being at the gym or whatever it is that you can do for your health that you know you enjoy, that you can be consistent at, is what's going to get results. Number 4 is trust the process. So through the quiet seasons, through the busy seasons, whatever it is, trusting God to process for where he's got you right now. And whether it's feeling hard or if it's feeling beautiful, I think a really good question to be asking yourself all the time is, what are the lessons that God's trying to teach me here? What is it that I can learn from this situation? Sometimes it can feel really hard and ugly, and there's lots of ugly tears, and you feel like everything's fallen apart and you don't know why. And we've been through this series of, prior to this, of going through Job seasons, and I'm not sinning. I'm like the best I can. I'm not like I'm being righteous, my faith's there. God, what is going on? Those moments are trusting the process and asking yourself, what lessons am I learning here? And what lessons is God showing me through this that I can take with me into this next season? So like business first 10 years, 1.0, what are all the lessons that God's taught me and what has he taught you? And then going into 2.0, how can I then apply those lessons? And a lot of them I am sharing with you today. And write them down if you need to. Write them down, acknowledge them, whatever it is, but just learn. Everything is a learning opportunity. Everything has a lesson in it that God is gifting us with to take on the knowledge and the wisdom and everything else. Really trust the process and really lean into. I'm always a big believer that God is more interested in the journey than your success. What is he teaching you in this journey? What is it that you're learning in this journey? That's where the beauty is. These moments, enjoy them, embrace them. The really hard ones are where like things are made, where you're being scaled up to the next level. So embrace it, trust it, do the little bit of grinding that you need to get you over the edge, but only what you can do on a consistent basis without burning yourself out. Number 5 is hire slow, fire fast. Now, I did grab this from someone else, but that saying from someone else, I think it was Wes Hone who I was like, oh, that puts words into what it is that makes sense. And it was years and years ago that he put that out. And I think it really articulates so beautifully about team building. There's a few foundations to get in place, your values, what it is that your company is about, and how you want that to be like put forward in your staff. So for CWIB, it's encourage, strengthen, and unite. So how do we do that? Not only for our members and for our delegates to our events, but within our team as well. And then for the automation girl, it's education. I wish I could spill them off the top of my mind. Simplification, quality, and value, I think, are the 4 ones. And for me, I think it's really important to educate not only the business owners and the clients that we're working with, but also in the team as well. I want to empower my team to learn. I want to push them, not in a hard, pushy way, but embrace them and empower them to keep growing themselves as well. So how you set your values up when you're building your team can really reflect in how they deliver for you. If things aren't working with a staff member or a team member, contractor, whoever it is, nip it in the butt as quickly as you can. Either it's a conversation that needs to be had, lessons that need to be had, or it could be that they just need to go. And how do you exit them in a really integral way that honors God, that honors them, that can really be a testimony for your character and your business and how the culture is in your business as well. So you have permission to nip it in the butt fast. Wisdom shows us that if we keep holding on, things usually build up and get worse, or culture can get worse in your business, which is not what you want to do. So be slow to hire people. Make sure that they're the right fit. Give them some different tasks to do, whatever it is. Make sure that your values align. And then if it's not working for whatever reason, get onto it straight away. Don't be scared. Hire someone who's a HR specialist that can come on board and help you manage that process, that might know the laws in your country and in your state. And like sometimes it can be that they will handle that whole process for you to make it easier and take the pressure off you of having to exit that person if you need it. Number 6 is to find the bottlenecks and fix them if you can. So often we try and scale, and I know I am so guilty of this, but the bottleneck stands with the business owners normally. Normally. Not in every case, but normally. So what are the bottlenecks in your business? What's stopping your business from progressing? What's slowing your systems down? And is there a way that you can fix them or put different processes in place to take that bottleneck away? Is there someone you can trust in your team to do that for you, that you can train so that you're not self-sabotaging yourself to stop your business from growing because things are stopping at you and you're too busy to look at emails to approve things or whatever it is that might be the bottleneck? Which leads me beautifully on to number 7, which is use automations to help empower you and your team. For me, automations have been absolutely fundamental since the day I started business, because I did start off business with such a manic life. The reason how I got into automations was I need to learn how I can set up automations so I can manage all this workload the best that I can. And that is literally like I went from setting up websites to founding Christian Women in Business to then moving over to the automation goal, literally because when I set up CWIB, I needed to work out how to add automations in the behind the scenes that were still soulful. And I want to make sure that's clear, still soulful. I am all for soulful, as in bringing soul, the human touch, to the automation. So people still feel seen, heard, acknowledged, loved, valued, but that will save you time and save your staff or team or yourself repetitive tasks that just don't need to be done, that can take up a lot of your time. And a big one for CWIB was managing the guest podcast schedule. So we have people that contact us all the time, multiple times a day, wanting to come on the podcast, which is beautiful. I take it as a compliment. That's really cool. How do we manage that? How do you manage all those influx of people? And then if you did want that person to come on the podcast, then how do you manage that afterwards? And so by setting up a really simple automation where people can book in where they can apply, someone in the team can quickly scan to make sure that they're legit, they line up with our own vision, mission, and values, and we're going on the same path. And then, okay, we just move them to a different automation, and then they get sent a link, they get congratulated, and then they can book in through that link. And then once they've booked in, everything gets sent to them. That saves like so much to and throw in back and forth of, especially because of the different time zones as well. We do a lot of interviews from the US. I'm not going to spend my time finding out when someone who's been asked to come on our podcast, when they're free to come on. That's not cool. So here's a link, go and book in. And it just saves so much time and effort, not just for me, but for my team, and has allowed us to do that really beautifully. Sometimes there's been glitches where we've had to fix things up, which is fine. But having that simple automation in place, I know saves us so much time. And if I see someone that I'm like, I would really love to get them on the podcast, I can literally just send them an email saying, hey, love what you do, would love to get you on an interview. Here's the link to book in. Everything will be sent to you from there. That's it. There's no, yeah, okay, cool, when you're free, yeah, what time is it? Like, nah, it just does everything. So even just having a simple automation like that, people think automation AI and they get so scared, but it's actually so empowering by having that simple process in place means I can get more people as guests on the podcast with ease. So they can be used and they can be empowering. And I fully 100% believe in setting up automations and systems that keep the human soul, but help your business just keep running and take the load off and work for you and your business. That's good automation and good system. Number 8, we're nearly there. We've got 3 left. Number 8, God is always right. Like, that's it. That's just number 8. God is always right. Trust the process. God is always right. Don't fight it. Don't try and fix it with logic. Whatever's going on, God is always right. Trust that. Number 9, I might just take a drink. Number 9 is be open to expanding your mind bigger than what you're thinking right now. And I don't mean that again to be you're more busy or whatever it is. Just be really open to the Holy Spirit and to different people that God's put in your path that He might need you to have a relationship with. I don't mean as in an intimate relationship, but a relationship of business or friendship, whatever it is. Listen to those people around you and see what opportunities are out there. You just never know. You never know. And God blesses us so much with the people that are around us and in our networks and in our communities. So always be expanding your mind to be thinking, and I don't mean this in a selfish way, but be thinking, what's this person? Why am I in this person's life? We'll flip it around. Why am I in their life? And what is it that why God's connected us? And is there a deeper reason here without getting too like psychedelic or anything like that? But just really calm, collective. Is there a lesson here? Can I help them in some way? And what can I learn from them to expand my mind as well? No matter what their age is, you can always learn something from someone. And I think we put ourselves in a box of how we think our businesses should be. And we can take years to learn the 1.0. And then, okay, 2.0, how do we expand? Like, how can I be open to that expansion in my own mind and thinking bigger? Have I picked a target audience or a perfect client, if you like, and that's actually setting me back? Do I need to think bigger about what client I want to bring on? And all those kinds of thoughts. So be open to expanding, to listen, to hear what is going on around you, listening hard, taking in words of people and expanding your mind with that. I think you look at the universe and you think God is of expansion. You look at the Bible and how it's all put together and the old and the new and how it's all linked. God is an expansion. He is not singular. He is not just one thing and that's it. He is exponentially big. And we're part of that. So how can you exponentially grow your mind and thinking bigger than where you are now? Yeah, I'm just going to leave that as that. And at the same time with that, number 10 is you can only grow as big as your systems and your team can handle. So once you've got that exponential kind of view or mindset of being open to receiving what God is showing you and things are starting to shift and they're starting to grow, you can only grow as big as your systems and your team can handle, because either your services are going to fail, they're not going to match up to what you're offering people, and clients are going to go away, or you're just not going to be able to handle the volume of clients. So what are you putting in place now? And this is not going for perfection. And 99% of business owners are winging it every single day. Going to claim that. There's never a day where you're not winging it as a business owner. And I think so many of us can relate to that. And Emma Isaac, I think it's Isaac it's how you say her last name. She brought a book out called Winging It. I'm like, couldn't be spot on for this journey of business. As you are winging it through life, making sure that you're putting in your systems and the team in place that can handle the winging it, that can handle the growth, that can handle the bigger thinking with you. And I think it's so right that sometimes there is a shift of when you are going to that next level, I think your group does get smaller. And I think trying to find the people who are at that point with you, that does get smaller as well. But there are people out there that are doing it and who are killing it in business, and they are still managing to stay alive and not burn out. So, how can we learn from them? And what is it that they're teaching us? Again, being open into the listening and the hearing and learning. And this doesn't mean that you need to drown yourself with 100 podcasts and be reading and be switched on all the time. I think that's a big mistake too. It's about hearing and listening, but allowing yourself space to process and space away from business and from thinking and from music and from noise and from podcasts, where you just have silence that you're able to process everything that's going on in your business and life. And that's when the subconscious is given time to process. Another topic for itself. But once you've had that time to process, that's when the ideas come, that's when the expansion comes, and that's where the capacity grows. So those are 10 different things that I've learned over the 10 years of business that I hope that you found helpful for today, that's got you thinking about different things and hopefully meets you where you're at in your business as well. I would love to know. Get in contact with us on Instagram or email or whatever. How long have you been in business? What's been your biggest lessons? I will happily share them across our socials, and I just think it's priceless that we can learn from each other as we go through these things called business. So if you come into the Thrive Quarterly Reset, I look forward to being on a screen with you and opening up that space. If you're joining us this week for our Brisbane coffee and catch-ups, I can't wait to meet you there. That's on the 15th of May. And then the following week is our Thrive Quarterly Reset, which you can join in from anywhere in the world. That's the whole point of it being online, is that you can join it no matter where you are. And it's a day for you in your business to get centered, to reset, to look at what's coming up in the next quarter, to set your goals, to have that time with God and really hone in on what's happening in the next quarter for you and your business. All right, I'm SJ. You're listening to the Christian Women in Business podcast, and I'll catch you next time.